that we that is getting in and out is properly checked. Everything that is inside it is governed, and as well as have a proper access control enabled onto it, just to make sure that, okay, if someone on a lower rank doesn't get access to something which is very crucial to my organization. Okay. And within creation of this whole fortress, we did a lot of things. We applied a lot of zero trust policies and everything. Unfortunately, our good friend, the global secure access, was not there at that point of time. But now, as we move along and Microsoft is coming up with a lot of new services, we have Entra Global Secure Access, which is still in preview. So today, we will be talking about the features of it. We'll be looking at what all things are in there. But unfortunately, like you, I also haven't got a chance to do this in a real world production scenario. So we have been doing pilots with our customers. We have been doing a couple of deployments where where the customers are interested in looking at how it is going to look like once it is in GA. But still, just being a preview feature at the moment, even I won't recommend to deploy it in your production. Although from Microsoft side, if you want any support on this, you are definitely going to get support on this product, and the customer support is totally capable of providing support on this one as well. Okay, so before we start talking about our Entra Global Secure Access, let's take a step back and let's meet our very good friend. Anyone, and then I'll say like 100% of the people who are working in IT or even not in IT who are working with systems, at some point of time, you might have came across our good friend called VPN. And the reason why we use VPN is we want to make our connection to our resources secure. Okay. But there is certain limitations with VPN as well. So when we talk about VPN, and when we talk about specifically like from the connectivity standpoint, you need to do a lot of segmentation in that. You need to make sure your data security, there is no option within VPN that can ensure that your data security and who is looking at what, and once they are connected. So let's say if I am connected to the organization. Let's say if I am connected to some sort of, uh, let's say some sort of web services, or maybe I'm connected to one segment of your organization, right? That is exposed to me no matter where I am. If someone has my credentials, let's say it is a Cisco AnyConnect, if it is even Azure VPN, and if someone has my credentials, they get it in somewhere in China, they get it set in somewhere in eastern part of the world, and if they put in those credentials, they are definitely gonna get through it. And what is going to happen is they'll be able to look at all the things. They'll be able to get into our network as they provide as they provide the credentials. On top of that, we started putting a lot of other things like likes of making sure that you have multi-factor authentication involved into it. But if I'm not sure if you have seen or not, but a couple of weeks back, even from Microsoft side, we and all the partners specifically, we started promoting that you should not have only like a weaker multi-factor authentication methods. But unfortunately, in a lot of scenarios, if you see, right, and I have multiple customers who has this limitation where the workforce is limited to, let's say, a mobile phone, and it's not it's basically a simple feature phone. So you are just getting as a text as SMS for the multi-factor authentication. Not just that piece, even though there is a lot of places where you don't have access to the mobile phones, and still you need to provide access to certain resources, and you have to make sure the sign-ins and you have to make sure the resources that people are accessing, it is secured enough and you have a proper layer. The next thing was the granularity. We cannot, like with VPN, we can certainly inspect the traffic, but you cannot go very much granular, likes of looking at what users are accessing, what is the entire chain and everything. Okay, and there is still, and I'm talking in terms of like we have all moved towards the ZTNA, we have all moved towards the SSEs, but we still have the requirements, and I see each and every day there is VPN failures. We see there is a hardware requirement. You have a appliance to manage in your on-premises network and all those stuff. So there is another blocker, and I'll say another challenge that we had with VPN, which comes down to having a dependency on a centralized infrastructure. Oh, let me just go back. Oh, I thought I changed the slide. Okay, so we had this dependency on the centralized infrastructure as well. Okay, with VPNs, there is always like when the COVID hit, and there is tons of employees started working with from home and everything. The most queries that I have got that our VPN has a bottleneck. Our VPN is not able to handle this much amount of load or something like that. So that's one of the other reasons that we were seeing, okay, there is some issues with VPN. We need to see what else we can do. And and the end of it, the compliance challenges are also like it's basically relates back when you looking at visibility and granularity, and the way the moment you start looking at the ISO standards, the moment you start looking at different standards, there is a challenge to maintain, and you have to maintain a lot of policies and everything around your devices and everything just to make sure that your devices are being compliant. Okay, so these were, I'll say, a high level view of the challenges that we were seeing with VPN, and basically even the whole industry was seeing. And I believe we had a couple of sessions today in or around basically the zero trust architecture, and I believe we have another one scheduled after this as well, where we will be talking about more of a zero trust pieces. So when we say zero trust, and when we are saying, okay, we are not trusting anything, we are verifying everything, okay, then the concept of VPN goes in altogether a different scenario. Okay, so what's next? Okay, so basically, when we are saying, okay, we had some flaws in VPN, I'll not say flaws. VPN has been like really, really, really helpful thing. So I'll say we have some areas of improvement that we can do in a VPN. So what comes next to VPN? Okay, so the next thing that Microsoft has came up with at the moment is called basically SSE. And before we talk about the actual product itself, we will be talking about what is the concept behind it. So you might have heard of the word SASE, which is a secure access uh, security edge. Okay, so basically what happens is when you from SASE, you remove the SD-WAN. So basically SD-WAN is the A in SASE stands for access. And that access actually means having a software defined WAN connectivity around O. So when you take that out, because not in all cases you need a SD-WAN deployment specifically for giving access to the people. So when you take that out from from the SASE model, then it is left out with the zero trust network architecture, CASB, and software access gateway. So with all these, what makes is the SSE, which is like a very stupid thing, I'll say. We are just removing an A from that, and we are calling it an SSE. So this is a new, I'll say, a byproduct of SASE. What it gives you is basically enhanced security posture. And the how it gives you an enhanced security posture is it's over the traditional VPNs, right? What it does is it provides you multiple layers of security. So starting from web application firewalls, having a CASB, having a zero trust architecture and zero trust access that basically layers it down for you. So what happens is you have a multiple layered security, which helps you out making sure that your overall security posture is better. More of we when we look at this from performance standpoint or latency standpoint, so when you are deploying the, I'll say, when you're deploying the VPN pieces, right? It's up to you. It's up to your ISP there, and you in whatever bandwidth that you have there. It totally depends on that. And so when you're looking at this, and when you're connecting to a different like different part of world as well, what happens is with the SSE providers, so the likes of Microsoft that we are going to talk in coming slides as well, what happens is you get the functionality, you get the Microsoft backbone network, and you get the Microsoft Edge network connectivity. So if you just Google that piece, it's a huge network laid out by Microsoft, and you get on it when you start using the Microsoft services around the SSE. Okay. And I'll just go through the points. So scalability and flexibility, we are talking about cloud. Okay. That's cloud 101. The day we started looking at what is cloud, we always say that, okay, when you're moving to cloud, it is going to be scalable, it is going to be flexible. You can take it out at one day and you can just deploy other day. You are paying for like 1 day or 1 month or whatever the blocking period for that particular product is. But it is pretty much flexible technologically as well as your financially. Okay. Uh, there is a really reduced complexity in cost. So when we are doing a lot of, and the CIOs ask you specifically, okay, how the infrastructure as cost is going to be, you are factoring out your firewall cost, you're factoring out your bandwidth, you're factoring out five different things, deployment of your all those specific tools, the likes of Cisco AnyConnect and all to your specific laptops and everything. So there is a really, really reduced way of complexity here. Okay. Compliance, we'll see in the coming slides as well that how it is going to help you within compliance. And basically, the good thing is it is getting integrated with a lot of intelligent things. So the emerging threats, because each and every day the threats are emerging, and each and every day there is one or other thing that is coming in to block those threats, or our security researchers and our security analysts are doing a really great job in specifically finding those out and finding the cure of those things as well. Okay, so that's basically what we have in terms of SSE. Okay, where does it exactly sits? Okay, so this is not my thing. I don't take credit for others' work here. So this is a this is basically part of the MCRA, which what we call as a Microsoft Cloud Security. I don't remember what the R stand for, but it is a reference. Oh yeah, that's a reference architecture. Okay, and that basically gives you a view of the whole as a whole zero trust compatibility mapping of the different products. So let's say on day one itself, you'd want to look at, okay, I want to go pro Microsoft, all the services, what we want to go with specific of deployment for zero trust. What we are looking at is starting from the analytics pieces. We have our good friend Sentinel on the top. Uh, okay, I just realized I don't have my pointer on here. Yeah, so We have our good friend Sentinel on the top. We have which is going to give you the SIM and SOAR functionality. We have our XDR functionality with the whole Defender suite. We have our endpoints here, and we are basically looking at these two specific pieces. Our good So basically, our good friend Azure AD has now transformed into Entra, and it's not just the name has changed. I will say there is tons and tons of features which is getting onboarded to Entra, and as well as there is a lot of features are in pipeline which we are seeing in a lot of Microsoft announcements as well. So as part of that, there are two things. From user security standpoint is going to be the global secure access and the conditional access. So we all are using conditional access at this point of time. If you are not using conditional access, definitely at some point of time, I believe it was last month, few of them got forcefully enforced by Microsoft as well, just to make sure that you are secured. And for there will be a couple of more coming in couple of months as well, because your public portals, your specifically management portals, like your likes of your Office 365 or likes of your portal.azure.com, and if you're using all those and if you don't have a specific security layer, specifically conditional access, which is making sure that you are having MFAs, or if you're having managed devices, that is a biggest threat to your organization. Okay. As part of that, right, we have Intune, we have Defender for Endpoint, we have Entra ID. That's like a full Entra suite. And if you see this architecture, right, the plays the biggest part in deployment of the whole zero trust setup within your organization. Definitely, we have, and then you'll see there is the name Entra popping up a lot of different times. I'm not saying any of these components you can ignore, or if any of these components that will be like with a lesser value in there, but Entra has evolved so much with a very much with a very various different functionalities that most of the things you will be seeing with Entra. Okay, going back to our global secure access. So basically, our global secure access sits with basically the Entra, and global secure access is basically helping you out the user aspect, helping you out securing the user aspects of the zero trust mapping. So and how that works, basically, it is actually coupled with all the functionalities that we are seeing over here. There is certain connectors that we have. There is certain like logging and functionalities we have for Sentinel as well. We have multiple options at the moment, which is basically going to give you enhanced logging experience, getting more out of once you have getting more out of your specific services. So let's say if you have Intune, it basically gets coupled with Intune as well. So you have the global access client, you are using conditional access, that ties down to Intune, and basically and the Defender for Endpoint. And based on that, what you do is you create your conditional access, which is basically making sure that you have your uh, only managed devices or compliant devices doing whatever stuff that you want to do them let them do with your applications. Okay. Yeah. So I'll just move here. So what is global secure access? So we have been hearing about this from the very beginning of my slide deck, that we are going to look at something called global secure access. Okay. The name is very much self-explanatory. So what we are saying is this is global secure access, which specifically means you are accessing it globally from anywhere, secure. So that's pretty much clear for everyone. But how does that work? Okay, and what is coming in? Like we have been doing that from very long. We just talked about that we had a few things, a few flaws in our VPN setup. we have SSE, we have a new model that we are following now, which is basically giving us more of which is giving us more flexibility, which is giving us more advanced functionalities as well. So global secure access is basically an SSE only, and that is it's a Microsoft product coming with Entra suite. It's basically, and Microsoft, as per it's basically an identity centric approach of the SSE. Okay, so basically your network, your identity, your endpoint, and all of that basically converges into a single point, which is going to be the global secure access. Okay, and as part of the suit, what you get is there's two. I'll not say two products, but there is two areas that you get. First one is basically called Microsoft Entra Internet Access, which is basically for securing access to your Microsoft 365 applications, your SaaS applications, or any public internet applications that you have. So making sure if there is any application that you're having, like likes of Microsoft 365, your SharePoint. Sorry, is there any question I'm missing?
No, sir.
Okay, perfect. Okay, yeah. So basically, if we have any applications that we want to publish it to, if we have any, sorry, if we have SharePoint, likes of SharePoint, we have OneDrive, we have Microsoft 365 applications, or if there is any SaaS applications like of third party as well, or so for that pieces, basically, it helps you out in securing those and basically making sure that you are not getting into any of like stolen token attacks or like let's say making sure you have conditional access policies evaluating each and every move of yours, each and every behavior of yours. So let's say if right now you're accessing your M365 tenant on a network on a Wi-Fi, you're logged in, and in an ideal scenario, even let's say if you have restricted it to a specific network only, right? In an ideal scenario, in a general scenario, not an ideal scenario, what will happen? In the general scenario, what will happen is if you don't have this kind of a global secure access setup, you will get into a situation, okay, you disconnect your home Wi-Fi. You walk down to the street. You go to your nearest coffee shop. You sit there, connect their Wi-Fi. Okay, and just because your token refresh didn't happen within that time period, what will happen is you will still be able to access the SharePoint, the OneDrive, and all the other stuff. Okay, all the other stuff that needs to be secured. So in that case, what happens here is your global secure access, what it does is, even if there is a, let's say, a stolen token or someone is trying to replay the stolen token, if there is any change in the network or you might have seen in Azure Active Directory, if you work with, sorry, at the Entra ID old habit, that if there is any sign-ins that is not compliant, or maybe if there is any risky sign-ins, and we have these two options there where you see the risky sign-ins and you also see the remediations and everything. So if there is any risky sign-ins like that, or if there is someone who is accessing things, right, it will straight away ask for, either you can set it up to block them straight away, or it will ask for a challenge again. So basically it will ask for, okay, you have changed your network. It's not going to say that you have changed network, but it will again prompt the user, can you do the multi-factor authentication, or maybe can you do something like, let's say, it can basically be like more of a harder challenge. Like you have changed your Wi-Fi, or you are into a open Wi-Fi change zone or something like that. Just because of that, you need to use your hardware token or something like that. Okay. Also, you can apply a universal with the first one I'm talking, the intra internet access. You can basically put in a restriction which will block users to log into any other tenant. That sounds like let's say I'm working with some organization, okay, and that let's say that organization is called organization Y, and if I just want my users, my managed laptops, and whoever have that agent, which is the global secure access agent, only accesses the company Y tenant, not any company X or company Z tenant. Okay, then we can simply restrict that. Okay, and all of that, when I'm talking that we need to get an agent, so two there is two areas around that as well. So with the agent pieces, we have a standalone agent as well, and it is basically embedded with Defender now. So your Defender will have the same functionalities. Your Defender will have the agent capabilities as well. Okay. Now, the second one here is Entra Private Access, which is one of my favorite. And to be honest, if you look at the demos and if you look at the initial setup pieces, right, your first impression will be, okay, we always had Azure Application Proxy. So it was basically we had the app proxy already in our Azure Active Directory Entra ID, where we used to publish web application. Okay. Now the second thing is what Microsoft has done over here is Entra Private Access is, I'll say, like a big brother of Azure Application Proxy. So based on the same principles, this is a new product that has came in, which has access to which you can deploy to have provide access to your corporate resources, likes of your Windows servers, your likes of your Linux servers, likes of your specific web apps, and all. And that you can do based on the application types, that you can do based on per app basis. And the best thing is it all gets integrated, and as I mentioned in the very beginning, the global secure access is it's basically an identity centric approach, right? So any application that you are trying to access, so let's say how it is going to work in the real world scenario. When you, let's say you have a ServiceNow deployed or in like a local instance of ServiceNow, or maybe some your HR software deployed in one of the servers, even sitting in on-prem. Okay, you cannot you cannot change that. It is a legacy software, so you cannot change that software to become like a more of start doing the OAuth and SAML authentication and start using the conditional access and Azure AD B2C good things or something like steps. So that option is eliminated, where we are talking about, okay, we are not going to use specifics of, let's say, a new authentication method. So what we are going to do there is, even in those scenarios as well, just because the agent is going to be responsible for making sure that everything is happening smoothly, and when whatever resource that you are connecting to, you are supposed to connect to that or not. So the moment you go on your browser and you type, let's say, 10.0.0.4, just because we are saying it's private access. Okay, so the moment you type 10.0.0.4, or maybe internal FQDN, what will happen is you will be prompted with a login window. If you don't have the SSO enabled already, it will be prompted with a login window, or the SSO will kick off. You get uh, based on the requirement, you will get a challenge on your phone saying that, okay, you approve authenticator, or you put in this the FIDO key, or anything that is set up by the organization within the conditional access, so for that particular application. So that way, what you can do is, for one application, you can, like, let's say if there is one application which is required by everyone, and maybe that doesn't have any significant information, or maybe that doesn't have any PIIs or anything that you want to like very hardly protect, you can just make it make the challenge easy for that one, like make sure if there is a very very high risk for, then only ask for MFA or something. Otherwise
Hey,
it
hey,
can be
so,
accessed directly.
sorry to interrupt. This is Mandeep. There is a you have another 3 minutes, so just a time check.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, no problem. Okay, yeah. So basically that's more of a private access that we talked about, right? So everything what we are talking about is coming in, and again from MCRA, the overall user. So whatever users you have, and that is not limited to your maybe Android or being it iOS or anything, that agent is available for all the specific platforms, the most common platforms. And based on that, everything goes into your security policy engine, which basically makes everything is being evaluated, and that is connected with your security service edge. Okay, since I have just 3 minutes, I will just skip this piece, and I will just because this one you can see it anywhere. Just to Google for the Entra private access, and you'll see what all prerequisites we have. And each and every it's basically more around the licensing, the deployment. The way the deployment works is same as we used to do it in app proxy. You deploy one application, one enterprise application within your Azure ID, and basically you configure one specific, like let's say within your network, you configure one host with Windows Server 2012 or R2 or later, and you deploy an agent on top of that. And all the endpoints, likes of my laptop, your laptop, or someone else's laptop who is going to access those things, they will be getting a specific of this agent. And that agent basically looks something like I can try to show that as well. But anyway, yeah, before that, I'll just quickly show you where do you find global secure access. And it's bold. It's written in bold characters over here, letters over here. It is basically the global secure access is still in preview at the moment. So you can try that out for your POC. You can start looking at a couple of resources. I will paste that after my session in the chat, which is basically give you a full step-by-step guide of how you do this. And as well as there is a planning page, but Microsoft has done a tremendous job in putting together a overall stakeholder list, and even the efforts estimations and everything that will be done for the POC of this. Okay, so if you visit entra.microsoft.com, you will find our global secure access at the very bottom of your left pane. And uh, and basically within this, what you will be seeing here is you will have multiple options. So okay, let's not get confused with the multiple options over here, and just l- quickly look at the first one, okay, and get started one. I love these ones. So uh, it looks like it's loading slowly. Okay, so you have two options over here. So one is get started with your internet access and get started with your private access. Okay, just because I have done it in this tenant, you are not seeing a prompt, but basically when you click on get started, right, what it will do is it will give you a three-stage window, and it will tell you that okay, if you have the required license or not, if you have activated the feature or not, and if you're ready to do that, ready to go with it or not. Okay, so all these three options you will see. And the next ones are, it's like self-explanatory names, likes of dashboards. You'll see the different dashboards that the C level is going to love very much, that how it is working and everything. Any applications that you are going to publish, right, it is basically going to be through the application window. And when I say application, it can be a virtual machine. You want to give a 3389 access to something, like we have an IP address and I want to give a 443 access. Okay, so once you have this configured, and unfortunately we don't have time, and my lab is also down at the moment, so I cannot show it at the moment. But once you have this setup done, once you have followed all the steps, you have when you do this 10.0.0.5, and once the machine which is having the global secure client can do a 10.0.0.5 request on 443 port, and that will get a response, and that will be basically based on the access. It will be determined that okay, this guy or whoever, this guy or girl, whoever is trying to access, is eligible to access that resource or not. If they are, they will go through, or if they're not, they will not go through. Okay. Same for here. You have the clients available, and there is a couple of previews which is going to be coming, which is coming soon. You can get early access around macOS, iOS, Android, and it is going to be like on every platform, as I mentioned. Uh, you have traffic for forwarding options. So even though if you're, as I was saying, you can specifically mention that which platform that you want to monitor. So let's say we restrict people from having separate, like we restrict people from having opening their Outlook from some unmanaged device, or maybe when they are on public networks, or if there is a risky sign in from their side. So you can do that. So you can do two things: either you can go with the forward option over here, or you can do the bypass. So if we do the bypass, rest of them will be still be enforced, and the first one, that like outlook.office.com, will be enforced. Yeah, Mandeep.
Yeah, I think we have
Uh,
5 minutes
yeah,
over.
I
So,
am done, but I am just concluding this.
yeah.
So yeah, perfect. Okay, so you can have a quick look at all the options and see, play it around. I'll drop the link for the Microsoft documentation, which is going to help you out with all these. And you can just it's a fairly easy step-by-step process that you can follow. Yeah. Rest of all, thank you so much. And thank you so much for all of you for joining today. Okay. And I will just hand it over to the next speaker who is eager to talk to you guys. Thanks, everyone.